People get tired, systems don't.
You have really good systems, it sets a foundation, and sometimes that is all that is needed to be super successful.
And there's systems for business, there's systems for families, and then there's systems for your personal life.
Sometimes just the basics is just enough and okay.
There's more than one way to do anything, but there is one specific way to do everything.
Correct.
Like organizing the refrigerator.
Oh, drawer.
Well, in my mind, as long as it's in the fridge, it's fine.
No. Agree to disagree.
So, but let's tie this into setting up life and setting up our children for success. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Prime Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Skip Wyss, and I am with the amazing BDC certified coach, the master of disaster, Dr. Fairy Fingers herself, Dr. Julie Wyss. It's nice to have you on today. So today, systems don't lie. What do you think about that?
I love systems.
I know you love systems.
I thrive.
You know, there's a common saying, we hear it a lot through our coaches, through the Black Diamond Club, Dr. Sean Dill, David Meltzer, tons of people. I don't know who Sean heard it through, but people get tired, systems don't.
Agreed.
What do you think about that?
I think people in general, I think we start with good intentions, following a system. I mean, I do that when I'm always training my team or when I'm coaching and I'm going through systems. A system will start off nice and strong. And then people get tired or lazy. Sometimes we just need to call it what it is. And they start to skip steps. And then what started off as a really good sound foundation within the system is now missing things, or we wonder why maybe our sales are down, why our leads aren't converting, and it has everything to do with we got away from the foundation, we got away from the system that actually worked from the start.
Yeah, the systems work. You know, you'll hear it in the NFL, you'll hear it in different sporting teams all the time that, let's say there's a really good quarterback, okay? And they'll say he's a systems quarterback, not a real quarterback, meaning the systems he's in is what makes him good and what makes him thrive. And you can see that in sports teams, but you can also see that in business as well. If you have really, really good systems, you can take people and put them in the system and they usually will thrive very, very well. And what I find sometimes is that when people get overwhelmed, when people get tired, when they get burdened, when they start feeling exhausted, they're deviating away from the system, like you just said. And that can cause a major problem because what happens then is people start thinking they're smarter than the system that goes into play, and they start doing things in their own way, which then causes exhaustion, overwhelm, and tiredness.
Sometimes just the basics is just enough and okay.
It is okay to be basic. I'm basic.
But I mean, basic doesn't need to mean that it's cheap or you're doing little. Like, when you have really good systems, it sets a foundation, and sometimes that is all that is needed to be super successful.
So let's look at that from a family perspective then right away, because I have wrote down there's systems for business, there's systems for families, and then there's systems for your personal life. So let's go into families first. What are some systems? I know some systems that we use in our house with our children and that I think systems could get better with. That allow us as a family to work very well together. I would think number one, I was always taught at a young age the very specific way to do dishes. And my mom taught me how to do dishes one day, and she wasn't real nice about it, but she was upset because when I did dishes, I never left the sink clean. I never cleaned off the back part of the sink, the surround of the sink, the internal makings of the sink. So after I was done doing dishes, things were still really, really dirty. But had my mom not taken the time to show me a proper way of doing dishes, systems-wise, like you clean it this way, you do your knives, forks, and everything at the end, you do all of your oily pans and everything that has grease in it after you do all of your glasses, because it leaves streaks. And she taught me this system of doing dishes. And to this day, I still do that system. If you watch me do dishes, there's a very specific order to how I do it. What's your thought on that?
I cleaned the sink out after you this morning.
You did specifically because I cleaned off a tray after I was already done with my dishes.
That's what I
But
was
that is
thinking.
very rare.
But I think, when we say system, people might be like, I don't know if I can relate to that, but this could also be routine,
Well,
right?
habits.
So the habits that you're instilling, but
Mhm.
it's making sure that those habits are instilled in the right order,
Mhm.
I think is super important.
So what's the one saying we always go back to? There's more than one way to do anything, but there is one specific way to do everything.
Correct.
Like organizing the refrigerator.
Oh, there is the right place where everything needs to be.
You
within
can
the
always tell
refrigerator.
when me and Brecken have been in the fridge.
Yes.
Because things
Sandwich
just...
meat and cheese just on any shelf rather than in the protein or sandwich drawer.
Well, in my mind, as long as it's in the fridge, it's fine.
No. Agree to disagree.
So, but let's tie this into setting up life and setting up our children for success is actually being regimented in certain things. I think teaching the kids how to organize the fridge is important. I was never taught how to organize the fridge as a kid. And you
Well, I
can
think,
tell there's
like,
a difference in my life versus
always
you.
about efficiency.
Mhm.
And so if, say, at some point somebody needs to make a grocery list, if things are in an order or a semblance of where you would think to look for things, if you're needing to make a grocery list, it's just going to happen that much quicker. When you make a grocery list of, if you can visualize what the grocery store looks like, of making your grocery list that way, I'm telling you, these are things that save so much time and people get overwhelmed.
Mhm.
And so, like, there can be a system around anything and everything
So
that you do.
let's talk about making your grocery list, because I think that there is, until I actually understood how you made the list, in my mind, I'm like, well, this is, how the hell does this work? And then you walked me through how you made the list, and it makes shopping extremely efficient. So, and instead of me taking 35 to 45 minutes to shop, when you can literally hit a grocery store and do all of, like,
7 minutes.
yes, I know, because it drives you nuts. Because when you see posts of people and they're talking like late night shopping, trying to enjoy this, and like it takes them 45 minutes to shop, to me that's a complete waste of time.
And I love grocery shopping.
Yeah.
I truly do enjoy that. But I make my grocery list in the order of how the grocery store is laid out.
Huh. Imagine that. Yeah. So, and this is how her list works. And you can see, like, she knows exactly how that store is laid out. And then Dr. Julie literally lays out exactly what she needs as she walks through the store. So she knows exactly what she needs to get. And it keeps us from doing a couple things. Number one, impulse buying, which is why, like, when I go to the grocery store, she literally will contact me and be like, why did you spend so much money at Aldi today? And I'll be like, what are you talking about? She's like, what extra did you get? And then she knows, Julie also knows when I went in with Peyton, when I went in with Brecken, depending on what's bought. Because if I go in with Peyton, there's a bunch of extra
She's
meat products
bulk.
bought.
She will always think we're out of something and that we need more and more and more.
She does. And then there's a bunch of extra meat products bought usually. Yep. There's sausage and different things that me and her enjoy versus you and Brecken. When Brecken's with, there's usually a bag of jerky purchased.
Yeah, that's an impulse of I'm going to eat right now versus I think we're going to need more of this.
But because of that, though, I'm very inefficient at shopping. I am. It'll take me 25 minutes to go through Aldi when it takes you 7 to 10. And you will come out with more groceries than I come out with for less money. Way less money. This is how she works.
If anybody wants to go grocery shopping, I would be happy to take
you would like to know how Julie sets up her grocery list, please let us know. But I think that these are these systems that we've put in, that you've put into your life, and the systems that we've put into our household.
Like, we're talking about groceries. I mean, it could be super simple of, like, even like how you would clean a bathroom. Like, you wouldn't go and think about cleaning the toilet and then going and cleaning your sink and your countertops.
There's a very specific way to cleaning a toilet, which I don't know if you've mastered that yet. There's a very specific way to clean a toilet.
But I'm just
it's
like,
bowl
so
first.
There's systems around everything.
There's systems around everything you do in your life, and when you start analyzing what you do and how your efficiencies are, you will see flaws in your system.
Because I think we're here at the beginning of the year, and everybody's like, okay, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
get on track for my
Looking for
resolutions,
efficiencies.
and how can I be more effective with my time?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can start looking at those inefficiencies, we teach within our C3 group business concepts, and we talk about
Yep.
being a student of the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that if we can just get super focused on the things that are most important to us, or the things that have to get done
Mm-hmm.
in a timely manner, and we can put a system around those things that only allows us more time and opportunity to do additional things that we've had to put to the side.
I I agree with you 100%. In fact, I know where my flaws are a lot. And I'm bad at a lot of things. I'm really good at I'm a master at some things. But I'm just as much as I'm a master at certain things in my life, especially with patient care, people, taking care of moms, children, all that stuff. I'm really bad at other things. And it shows a lot of inefficiencies in my time as well. Because I get super frustrated when I'm not efficient. I get super frustrated. I get down on myself. I get mad. I talk very negatively to myself because I don't get things done. And then the days when I do get things done, I feel good about, but then I'm looking for somebody to tell me like, "Hey, you did a good job." When you're like, "Yeah, that's just how your day's supposed to go." Skip. So I think that what that is though is why we segued, why I went into family though right away was because family then pours over into personal and then pours over into business. And you've heard us say this, you've heard us talk about this, you've heard us go over this, but also you've heard us say this a lot in the past and our coaches that business problems are what?
Personal problems in disguise.
They exactly are personal problems in disguise. So if you're inefficient and you're not disciplined in your personal life, and I don't mean being like a disciplinarian, but discipline in the fact of holding yourself accountable, doing what you do, accountability is super important. Like we talk about sometimes, and I don't mean to be all over the place here, but just to touch on it, like marketing, what you do today affects you in 90 days. And you can tie that into your personal life as well. What you do today affects you in 90 days, affects you in 6 months, will affect you in a year, like a nutrition plan or a workout system, a workout regimen, a habit. If you have really, really effective and healthy habits in your life, it does positively affect you in 90 days, 180, and so on and so on, 270. You know what I mean? 365. Math was just running. But those things compound though. And somebody at the end of a year, so I like looking at like we just finish up the year and people will make posts. Like they'll make gym posts from this. If the ones that were really efficient and stuck to their habits and showed discipline, they are super excited for 1 year's worth of growth. Like, look where I started January 1 and look where I am December 31st. And you see this. And what happens is people will see it, myself included. And I'll be like, damn, like they had a massive transformation. Why can't I do a commitment like that? Why can't I commit to 90 days, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months? And I think what you should do when you're trying to make those habits change or those commitments, start with 30-day commitments and then go to 60, then go to 90. And how are you
Even
doing on
2
that?
weeks.
Yeah, what would
Sometimes
you're the best coach I know. What would be your
I
suggestion?
mean, 2 weeks, if it's like I want to read a book, or, I want to be better focused with my time, I want to eat family dinners together, like whatever it is, just it's got to be every day. And you can't be looking in the past, because then you're always going to be down on yourself for repeating those bad habits. It's always the day that's in front of you. What can you do in that day to make a better you, to leave an impact? And then just try and repeat it each next day. And before you know it, it'll be 3 days, it'll be 5 days, it'll be a week. And they're going to be like, well, I already have a weekend. I don't want to, lose that traction. And it's just going to become then part of that system of how you go throughout the day.
So what are some personal systems that you would recommend? I guess we went from family now into personal here, and we'll get into business in just a minute. Because even if you don't own your own business and you work for somebody, if you can bring really good habits into your business or who you work for, you can make yourself an even better employee, period. More efficient leads to more money, which leads to more production, which leads to more money. But in personal, what do you think is a good habit for somebody to get into right away when they get up in the morning?
I always say thank you. I say a prayer. But if it's like
showing gratitude to God.
Gratitude.
Yep.
But if it's like if you're a chronic of you set the alarm, but you set the alarm like a half an hour early so you can hit the snooze button.
I don't understand why the hell
that
people
doesn't
do
make
that.
sense. Why not?
Because there's a lot of people out there that do that.
So sleep those extra 30 minutes, and then when your alarm goes off, then just be happy, say thank you that I've been given enough sleep. That's all the sleep that I need for today. And I think it has everything to do with how you wake up then in that moment of, oh, am I tired? Or, okay, I'm up. My day is starting, and we get up and we start the day. So I mean, that could just be that super easy system. If it's like when you wake up and maybe on your nightstand, just a little reminder of like, smile. Today's a new day. Today's going to be great. And you just immediately get out of bed, and that will just change your tone for the entire day and just start a system, a chain of events of how you're going to view the day.
I think that is exactly how I actually start my day. Is the days that I don't, the days before I place 2 feet on the floor, if I don't say thank you to God for the day that's about to happen, thank you for the lessons, my day generally does not go the best. It doesn't go great. And it's very easy to get pessimistic about your day. Wake up and be like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Then what did you get up so early for? Number one. Why did you set your alarm for 5 o'clock knowing that you should be in bed till 6 or 5:30? If that extra half hour of sleep makes you a better person, then why the hell don't you just sleep the extra half hour? Like that makes no sense to me. The days that I know that I'm going to need more rest, I will shut my alarm off, or I will set it for an hour past what I usually get up. So then my body's refreshed and ready to go. A lot of people will immediately think their day starts off with, man, I didn't get enough sleep. Well, then what didn't you get? What are you setting yourself up for that day then? Why, like, are you literally setting yourself up then that day to say, I didn't get enough all day? Because that's literally how your mindset's going to be. It's no different than people starting their day off with sugar and then wondering why 10, 12, 2,
Hungry,
4, 6,
snacky.
8, and 10 o'clock that night, every 2 hours, literally, time it. It's every 2 hours. It's 120 minutes. When your blood sugar drops, you look for sugary foods again. And unless you have the mental fortitude to say, no, I don't need the sugar, or if you started the day out with a sugary substance, and then at 10 o'clock you feel that sugar rush, if you can break the mold and drink a bunch of water for 15 minutes and surpass that brain wanting more sugar and have the, and have the actual fortitude, willpower, thank you, to get past that, you will be fine. But a lot of people give in to that. And the reason why is because you're not disciplined in how you started your day, and your body's asking for things that are cheap and easy versus hard food sources to process.
You're being reactive to your body rather than proactive in understanding, okay, why am I feeling this way? Why am I craving this? Oh, that's because I had this, or I snuck this off my child's plate, or whatever it is. Like, I was in a rush. So if you can understand where that comes from, honor it, and be like, okay, that's why I'm feeling this way. You then in that moment can take charge and decide to course correct, take a different direction for the rest of that day. Or, okay, I'm not going to have that out the next morning. Like those are all things that are within your power, but we have to become a more proactive society, more proactive in the things that we do for ourselves. We have to be selfish in that we have to think of ourselves to better serve everybody else around us.
Yeah.
Because if we're talking sleep, and if we wake up and we blame ourselves, or we say, I didn't get enough sleep, right, then it's going to come out on everybody else.
Yeah, and if we don't take care of ourselves, how are we supposed to take care of everybody else? And I really really dislike that thing of when people look at you with empathy or sympathy. They're like, oh, you can't give from an empty cup if your cup's not full. And it's like, okay, but do you practice that shit? Like, I'm sorry, but do you? Because somebody that usually tells me that comment is a glass half empty type person, and they have that issue in their life, versus not saying that and saying, hey, how can we make you feel better?
How can I help?
Why don't we start this the next day? Maybe why don't we change our train of thought to just stop right that second and say thank you for everything that you were given that day and what you're going to receive the rest of the day. And that fires me up because I loathe that. When somebody tells me that, it's like nails on a chalkboard. I'm getting hit in the head with a ball peen hammer.
If I hear it, I'm usually walking away from that situation.
Because I'm like, why are you even quoting that stupid quote to me? Why don't we figure out a way to just fill the cup and service you first? Because if you service you first, and I'm guilty of this because I'm not a me first type person. And when I am a me first type person, people don't like it because they're not used to seeing it. Because like I'm all in on just me. And then it comes off to people sometimes as rude or self-centered, which I'm not.
But I think, and that's where I think of just letting people know. And I
Mm-hmm.
think, like we talk about resolutions at the beginning of the year, we have to really reflect on within our systems, everything we do, who do we surround ourselves with?
Yeah.
And so if part of that system is we are in a culture of we go to work, maybe it was a terrible day at work and you need to go blow off some steam when you go to the bar, or you go different places, or maybe you go to the gym, but it's with negative people or people that are also impacting you, that system needs to be broken.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it's a different gym, if it's a different habit that you're going to pick up, and instead of like after a long day of work, maybe you need to go home, maybe you have pets there, maybe you have family there, that they are the ones that are counting on you the most,
Mm-hmm.
and give to them to be able to give to yourself versus just more of the negativity. So I think beginning of the year, it's kind of that check of who are you surrounding yourselves with?
Well, and exactly, surrounding yourselves with the right people, the positive people. This is why I love being with you. In fact, I had to laugh because there was a live YouTube podcast of Sean and Lacey last week, and he talked about relationships. And he said, I am perfectly fine with one relationship. One. And he's like, it's being with his wife, Lacey. I'm the same way. I would be perfectly fine with one relationship as long as it's you. And I would go home, I would leave, I would go to the golf course, I would go to the office, I would come back, and that's what I would do. I would be the dog that leaves for the few hours and makes his way home every night, make sure that you're his center of focus, because that's who I am. That would be probably a little too much for you, because I would be looking for a lot of things with you in my life to fulfill what I like. But that being said, we have to take ourselves and understand the people around us are better served when we're at our best. And sometimes that forces us out of our comfort zone, which segues into actually business-wise for people, whether they, because me and you, we've been called some pretty atrocious things via email. Like
Social media.
People call us toxic. I don't get that. But usually the person that's calling you toxic, the person that's going kind of crazy at that moment, has some deep-rooted issues in their own life that they're trying to work themselves. They're hurt
people. And I don't think
Can you repeat that again? Because that's really super important.
Hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
And I think some people just don't realize where that comes from at times. And I think there just needs to be this space to allow them, and if that's you, right, it never feels good coming at you.
Mm-mm.
But if you can understand in that space, almost like an out-of-body type of a situation that you can watch, and if that will allow that person to be able to better themselves, to say those things, because clearly it's coming to you because you mean a lot to that person,
Mm-hmm.
that, again, while it probably hurts in that moment, that might allow that person to finally become a better version of themselves.
Mm-hmm. Man, I really love this podcast today. This is really, really good. So if you're coming at this, listening to this, and let's say because you guys, you all obviously know that Dr. Julie and I, we own our own business. We own several things. We have multiple streams of stuff that we're involved in, which is hard for people to wrap their head around as well. But also, there's a lot of people out there that listen to our podcast that don't own their own business, that actually work for somebody else. And one of the biggest things is then understanding where you fit into that place. If you're not happy there, why are you not happy? Is it something that you need to work on internally? Or is there truthfully something going on in that business that's not making you happy? And if you actually look at it from that standpoint, a lot of the times it's generally not the culture you're in that's making you unhappy. There's something going on with you. Whether it's something in your relationships, maybe with your kids, maybe just you personally that you don't have a relationship, that you can't find the right person, that you're looking for that companion in your life and you can't find them. And I understand that too. I feel really bad for people that have those situations go on. But when you're feeling those toxicities come in and you feel it drive over into your place of employment, the workspace, chances are if you self-evaluate and really look at what you're doing, it's probably on you, not on them as the employer or the boss. And then if you have evaluated that whole section, personal growth, what's going on in my family, and if you're happy in all those areas, then it possibly is the place of your employment. Then you do need to leave.
Or you need to have a conversation, because I
Yes.
think honestly, like granted, like our office is a smaller business, but we still ask really tough things of our team, and
We
we
do.
always pride ourselves on having the tough conversation. And so
Mm-hmm.
we make it a point of being able to have that open door, because like again, you're an adult sometimes before you're an employee or an employer,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to have that conversation,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's putting business aside, or if it's personal, like sometimes there just needs to be a conversation. But if you reach things that are irreparable,
Mm-hmm.
or like it's just like, gosh, maybe the role, like I've outgrown my role, or it just no longer feels good to me. Let me tell you, if an employee is coming to an employer to have that conversation, that is just pivotal for both
For
parties.
both parties. Yeah, for both parties. Because maybe, go ahead.
Well, it's because like from an employer standpoint, it could be like, well, why is this person maybe not performing, or why are they, negative, or why are they
Mm-hmm.
affecting this, and this? And the employee is thinking, well, why is my boss ungrateful, or why is my
Mm-hmm.
wage this, and why is it always coming back to me? But if there be a conversation, the things that could potentially happen for maybe a job position change,
Mm-hmm.
something still within the company, or realizing that maybe in your spare time on weekends you've been doing all this extra training, or you become proficient in photography or marketing, that's exactly what that boss is looking for in that moment, and
Yeah.
you could fulfill that for that person. But if we don't have within our system, within business training, if we don't have those hard talks,
Yeah.
with a team, or with employees, bosses,
It's a disservice for both of you.
correct.
And it's because if you don't have clean lines of communication with your boss or with yourself and your team members, you don't know where the flaws are. And a lot of the times when there's animosity built up on both sides, there hasn't been communication to actually go about what's going on or what's wrong. So
Gray area.
somebody has misrepresented their expectations, or expectations haven't been talked about. And then somebody gets hurt. Animosity gets driven, people get upset, and the reason why is because you didn't crystal clearly communicate. And we've been in those situations
Multiple times. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like when you expect something,
on
right?
both sides.
But
on
then,
both sides.
correct. But if it's never brought up or discussed, that
Mhm.
doesn't allow that other person the opportunity to either say what went wrong, or completely just misunderstood exactly what you were looking for.
Or show full disregard.
Right.
Full disregard because you haven't taken the time to communicate. Or when you do communicate, you come across extremely negative with a list of demands from both sides, whether it's an employee or the employer. And if you come to an employee and you have a list of demands, but if they come to you and have a list of demands as well, then there definitely has been an area there where you haven't been communicating on both sides of it. Both sides. So both parties are guilty. And we've been guilty of that. And we will try to make amends, we'll try to fix things, or at sometimes we just need to move on, unfortunately, where it's not repairable, or we just walk away from situations, which makes it healthier for people, everyone involved, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what makes, one, working with you exceptionally awesome, two, working with our team that we always have here at Prime Family Centers, but also working with the doctors and the community, the people. The people are what make whatever we do great. It's the patients we serve, the families we serve, the clients we serve, or the kids we get to see, or the babies and newborns. That's what makes it awesome. So we really appreciate you guys listening today. Dr. Julie, do you have anything else you'd like to input on this?
No, I love my system. So if anybody is
She
struggling
does.
in that area, let me know how I can help.
You need to reach out. Bottom line, I'm just gonna flat out say you need to reach out. You need to work with this woman. If you're having issues with your systems in your personal life, business, wherever it's at, and you need somebody, just a fresh set of eyes to take a look at what's going on, it's you. Bottom line, best coach I've ever met in my life. Worth every penny, and I get you around me. Technically, it's free, but it's not. All right, everybody, go out there, take care. We'll see you all next week. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.